Hello there. Welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are covering Chapter 12 of The Mandalorian today as we're on the road to the Mandalorian Grogu. I'm one of your host, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, the man whose voice you hear in the narration every single week, Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. Excited to talk to you guys about this episode. Curious to see what you guys think. Kind of piggybacking off of last week, I think. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this one.
Yep. Also here with us today, our getaway driver for this podcast, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. Excited to talk about another episode of The Mandalorian.
Yep. Chapter 12 is here. And also with us today, we have the other Fraietta brother with us. Phil Fraietta is here. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me back on.
Yeah, Phil, have you been checking out some of the old Mandalorian stuff ahead of this movie?
Yeah, I have. I want to say I'm excited for the movie, but scared that it's going to be a dud. But I'm excited for the idea of the movie.
You're excited to go to the movie.
Yes, that's one way to say it.
You don't know what you're getting when you get in the theater, but like you're excited to actually go there and watch a Star Wars movie in the theater.
Yeah, and I mean, Mandalorian does have some really good stuff, and going back to revisit season two in particular reminded me of that.
Yes, Lisa, glad to have you on this week here. And Pete, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, and use Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys, your favorite podcast platforms for episodes there. And we're still going on the road to the Mandalorian Grove. We're talking about the news. There's going to be a little pit stop coming up here to Clone Wars times, but make sure you subscribe for all the fun.
Yeah, make sure you don't miss out on anything. It's completely free for you guys and it helps us out. So make sure you click that subscribe button.
Nick, people want to follow us on social media. How can I do that?
You can follow at Sky Guys Podcast all over social media. And if you would like to email the pod, you could email us at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep. Also go to our social media comment of the week. We'll go back to TikTok on our abandoned Star Wars characters episode. This comment is from Cherry Chem talking about Hondo and why he hasn't been around. And Cherry Chem says he only shows up when there's profit to be made, and so far is not a good venture for him. So Nick, very apt for Hondo.
Yeah. Listen, we said it before. We didn't get him in Skeleton Crew. It's looking hard. It's looking like it's going to be very difficult to get him in there.
Pete Maul Shadow Lord, do you think we see him?
Maybe, but it's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it kind of a situation.
The one thing I would say, Phil, is it's animated at least, which seems to be the barrier to entry for Hondo now.
Yeah, that he's done animated. I don't know about the future of Hondo though, especially considering that they've announced plans to redo the Disney park and bring in original trilogy characters, and that's kind of was Hondo's. That's his spot. So
Yeah. I understand though, like he's still on the ride, is going to be there, so I think he's still around.
he'll still be on the ride, but for now.
All right, for now, let's get into the Star Wars news here. And Nick, speaking of Maul Shadow Lord, we finally got the trailer.
We did. We got the trailer for the show. We got a release date of April 6th, and we got a format. It's going to be 2 episodes per week, going up to May 4th. Now, I think the episodes are on Mondays.
Yep, it's a Monday drops.
Let's hope they do Monday nights, not Mondays early, because those are harder for us to watch. But the trailer was cool. There's a lot of Force users, a lot of just stuff going on that it's hard to tell what's going on because there's so much in the trailer, but it looked good.
Yeah, Pete, this got me excited because we are big Maul fans here on the podcast here, and seeing him like back in his groove, like basically like laying down the law and like kicking ass and taking names. I think it's a fun spot to be in.
Yeah, I want to say I'm concerned, but I'm interested in what you guys think. It just seemed like very Clone Wars and Bad Batch kind of esque, almost unoriginal in a way. We didn't get much information from it, like Nick said, but I mean, it still looks cool. So I'm very curious to see what the plot's going to be, how they kind of spin it in that way. But it kind of looks like things we've gotten before in the past, which is not what I envisioned for a mall show.
Phil, because you're not as deep into it as we are, like, does this intrigue you, the show, Maul Shadow Lord?
Yeah, I think it does. I I like the character of Maul. I wish that and they teased the return of Maul with Solo, but obviously nothing came of that. So at least we get him in an animated role here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they were gonna pick up the Maul storyline, but I think once Solo got canceled, they had to change their plans for that.
Yeah, but so I'm happy to get him in albeit in an animated fashion.
All right, what else we got, Nick? Nick, I think you're muted.
Yep, sorry. So some of the cast members for the show are some familiar faces in the Star Wars world. Vanessa Marshall and Steve Blum are going to be reprising some roles among voice actors in the series. So a bunch of some returning characters, some returning actors, actresses in this show.
Yeah, I think Vanessa Marshall is actually voicing her character she played at the end of Clone Wars, so I think like that's
Yeah,
cool.
one of the
Mandalorians.
Saxton's friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Next we got is there are rumors circulating that the Mando and Grogu is going to have a trailer for the Super Bowl. Um, you wrote here, and I completely agree, why they really need to be doing this because people don't even know this movie exists still, and it's like 3, 4 months away.
Yeah, Phil, as somebody who is like goes outside of our circle of like immediate circle of people here, like how many people are you like in circles besides Max Roberts, who is obviously very psyched for this movie, like that are aware that this movie is actually coming?
Zero.
Yeah.
I saw recently that the trailer for this movie on YouTube has less views than the trailer for what is that? Warrior something that's coming out.
Yeah.
I saw the same thing. I forgot the name of the thing.
Some movie that no one's ever heard of. Has more like double the amount of views of a
From
trailer.
the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, Masters of the
Masters
Universe.
of the Universe has more views in 2 days than this trailer has. But it has 60% more views in 2 days than this trailer had in 4 months.
Yeah, Pete, to me, this again speaks to our saying here that they have a problem with brand awareness here. And I think they really need to do a Super Bowl spot here if you want to get people aware that, hey, we're making a movie. It's going to be here in 3 months. Go watch it.
Yeah, I also think that Disney Star Wars has a very big ladder to climb to get back into relevancy when it comes to, talking about it outside of dedicated fans. So I think you're right. I think a Super Bowl ad is probably needed here. Will they spring to pay the money to do that? I don't know. But it would be probably well advised if someone was advising them how can we get the word out to do it during the Super Bowl for sure.
All right. So what else we got, Nick?
Dave Filoni did a recent interview with Screen Rant where he was asked to describe his approach to overseeing Star Wars projects, and he said the following. People get worried they talk to me and I'm going to have some rule book, some Star Wars rule book. I know a lot of things about how things have been done, but I'm always curious, like, what do you got? What do you want to do? The biggest thing you want is to get artists to be expressive and express themselves in this time in ways that suppress us, that surprise us. Even if we're using franchises like Star Wars that have been around, what have you got?
Yeah. I think like this, I love Dana Filoni because goes directly against some of the stuff that Kathleen Kennedy was saying last week, where like she was in her interviews like, oh, like we talk to certain people, but they're not Star Wars people. Like to me, like you're too limiting with the Star Wars like brains. Like, oh, like we can't have these people in here because they don't understand Star Wars. Whereas like if, for example, Ryan Coogler, who she basically implied is not his thing to do Star Wars, like if he wants to do Star Wars thing and make it cool, like why the hell not with the state this franchise is in? I'm glad it seems like Filoni more open to that.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it turns out.
Yep.
Next here is during a red carpet interview, Taika Waititi says his Star Wars film will look to recapture some of the fun of the original trilogy and focus on new characters. And at this point, this is getting crazy. The fact that he actually believes, it sounds like this movie's going to come out. That's obviously not happening.
Yeah, Phil, in case you have heard, like Nick is like ridiculed this podcast on the idea of the Taika Waititi movie. He thinks that this will never ever see the light of day.
I agree, and I was going to say I think that's part of the reason why Mandalorian and Grogu is so. A lot of people don't even know it's coming out because over the last 5 years, how many different Star Wars movies that we heard about. The Taika Waititi one. There was the Rogue Squadron movie that was going to come out from Patty Jenkins. Never came out. There's just so many of them. I
We
think
did a
people
whole
just
list.
lost.
How many was it, Mike? We basically counted.
There's a lot of projects
It
here.
was
It's
about 10 to 15, somewhere in that range.
Yes, so I think people just got frankly tired of it and didn't want to follow the news anymore. Is
also
Ray still getting a movie? I thought Ray was getting a movie.
Yeah, it's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, Phil, because I think it's ironic, Nick, that the three movies we announced at Celebration were this one. There's Ray movie, the Dawn of the Jedi James Mangold movie, and Filoni's Mandoverse movie. It looks like none of them are on track to get made anytime soon.
Yep. The only thing we're gonna get for sure is Mandalorian and Grogu, obviously.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Starfighter with Gosling, and depending on how those do, you'll see more. Maybe if we do bad, you won't see any.
Yep.
Next thing I have here is Jonathan Trooper, who's a screenwriter for Star Wars Starfighter, said the film will not feature any legacy characters, saying you will not see any characters you've seen in other movies.
The more I hear about this movie again, the more like enthused I am about this project, Pete.
Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry, I couldn't
I
hear.
said the more we get about this movie is the more I'm excited about it because it seems like they're actually trying something new here.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I think we've spoke about it in the past. I think that this movie and the Mando movie are probably really, really important pieces of Star Wars media that need to do well. And it seems more in like the Starfire movie seems more interesting than the Mando movie right now. I think we're getting a little bit more with that than we are Mando, but I mean that may kick up closer to release.
All right, what else we got, Nick? A couple more things.
Brian Johnson said in an interview he would feel blessed if he has an opportunity to make another Star Wars movie, noting he's a bigger Star Wars fan now as a result of making The Last Jedi and is encouraged to make more new voices get a chance to make content in the universe.
All right, good for Ryan. It'll never happen, unfortunately.
And last here is an interview with Disney 23's magazine. Pedro Pascal revealed that when he was auditioning for The Mandalorian, he thought he was going to be playing Boba Fett until Jon Favreau corrected him that he'd be playing the title character, The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's a fun bit of what if. Like, what if Pedro Pascal is Boba Fett in the modern universe?
I think it's better off where he is.
Yeah, I think so. Is that it for the news, Nick?
Yes.
All right, let's get to chapter 12, The Siege, which releases on November 20th, 2020. It's the fourth episode of season two, the directorial debut of season two Mandalorian with Carl Weathers, who is nice to see him again here after he tragically passed away a few years ago. So he's a big front and center episode. We're on Nevarro. We're storming an Imperial base. We have a lot of stuff going on here. Phil, what do you think about this episode?
I like this episode. Went back and revisited it before the podcast. I remembered that I liked it. It was kind of a break in the overall mission of season two of getting Grogu back to Ahsoka or getting him to Ahsoka. But it was a good break. It was nice to go back to Nevarro. It had really good action sequences. I thought this was for what you could probably describe as a filler episode. I thought this was a good filler.
Yeah, we'll get to Pete's thoughts on filler again in a minute, but I will say I had fun with this for what it is. It's 36 minutes, like probably a little less with the credits here. Like you get some good action stuff, you get Navarro updates, you get some world building we learn why the Empire after Grogu so badly, and we sort of have it tied into the sequel trilogy. Much people did not like that choice, but Nick, I think like for what it is, it's fine. Like I would much rather have this than more Frog Ladies.
Agreed. This is a filler that provides context and advances the story, even though it's not advancing the story. Grogu's getting no closer to Ahsoka. I mean, I guess he is by fixing the ship, but you're getting a lot of other storylines opened up here. So what you can describe as a filler, there's a lot going on.
Pete, I'll let you close out the general thoughts here before we dive in more into this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a continuation of what we saw the first four, was it 3 episodes? 4 episodes, how many we did so far? I can't remember.
First three.
First three. It to me doesn't push the story along until probably, Stidman's in the middle and then the very end. So at least we had that. So much better than last week. But no, not a bad episode. I enjoyed it still. So I think that at least we're moving a little bit forward in this one. We're just like a notch above last episode.
Okay, so we'll see later on. P is a higher grade than what he did last week. So we'll go ahead and continue with the situation here. So Pete, I'll allow you to start here. What's something you want to talk about from this episode?
Um, I don't know. I just don't think there's much to talk about. I mean, the one thing I will say is it I guess we'll talk about Moff Gideon's role in this. Or actually, before we even talk about that, what I found very interesting that's not really part of the episode is that this is the first episode since episode one that had a flashback of like previously on that had to do with season one.
Yeah.
So to me, that like signaled, hey, we're gonna have a little bit more context of the actual storyline we gave you in season one, which we didn't get in episodes or chapters. What was it, 11 and 10?
Yeah.
So I think the tone was set to be like, okay, we're going to push forward, and then they at least delivered a little bit. Um, I don't know where to start. I feel like there's not much to talk about other than maybe the ending because that's the part that has the actual story. I mean, is there anything else like of noteworthy?
I think there's a few things you could talk about in here. I think there's stuff to add here. So I'll go to you, Phil. Like, how'd you feel about going back to Nevarro? Because that's where we spent most of season one. I think it's our only visit here in season two for the most part.
Yeah, I liked it. There's some good characters on Navarro. It was nice to see them back. And we're gonna get into it a little bit later with the MVPs and whatnot, but good to see the characters of Navarro. You know, and yeah, I enjoyed that. I think Pete's right. I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not the most memorable of episodes, but like I said, for a filler episode, it's enjoyable. It does advance the plot a little bit and has some good action.
Yeah, and we get some characters we pop up here. Obviously, we get Grief Karga back, we get Cara Dune back, who are sort of the law enforcement on Navarro now, as they're basically clearing out all the scum and villainy to make it a more respectable town. And Pete, the Mythrol from the very first episode is back. And apparently now he's just like working off his debt to Grief Karga.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was good. I think that's like a nice little touch. I mean, that's going back all the way like literally chapter one, right, of season
Yeah,
one. This is
yeah,
like the first thing you see Mando do.
yep,
So it's a nice callback. I enjoyed that. I like the dynamic between Grief, Cara Dune, and was it Mitral?
yeah, the Mythrol.
Mythrol, thank you. I think that whole dynamic's great, and I think that plays well throughout the episode. I think that's definitely a positive that came out of that, those 40 minutes.
So I like they use the Mythrol as the comic relief in this episode, where like he's going around pointing out things, he's like making jokes about, oh, like, am I getting left behind? And he's like, Creep Crowd and keeps trying to goad him into helping the mission more by knocking like years off his debt payments, and then like he's trying to shut the shield thing down or overload the panels. Like, oh, like there's no guardrail here. He's making one of the biggest plot holes in like the Death Star and the Empire's building things. Like the Mythrol is the comic relief guy with Horatio Sanz. It's great.
I I was gonna put the Mythrol as my least valuable player, actually. Spoiler alert, but I think he's I don't know, I forgot about him. Like he gets captured by Din in the first episode, and then all of a sudden he's here to be a friend. I don't really get him.
Yeah, I think like they kind of view him as like the code breaker, sort of the sense is like, okay, like they basically use it for his computer skills because I think he was like a white collar criminal.
All right, well, he's my LVP,
Yeah. Nick, we obviously,
and he never comes back. He never comes back after this episode.
as we know of, we could be in the movie for all we know.
Apparently, he's in the Rise of Skywalker. I don't remember him in that movie.
Yeah. Nick, we have you see the Mythrol back from chapter one?
Yeah, it was a connection, so why not?
Yeah.
He kind of like who's the voice actor? It's very funny.
Horatio Sanz.
So I don't know. I like the character for that reason, but I'm not really interested in the character. It was good to see a familiar face.
Yeah. All right. So what do you want to bring about this episode, Nick?
I think the only thing we can talk about is the action.
Which action? Because there are a couple different action spots. Like we could also talk about for a second, like the ridiculous sequence where Cara Dune's in the beginning, like clearing out the covert from a bunch of like petty criminals who are trying to eat a drunken squirrel.
If you'd like to talk about that, I also think when they were in the ship and they fell, they all would have died.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's fine. It's not a big deal. But you seem to have. You said you had big thoughts on something. Is this what it was?
No, it's not what it was. I thought that was just
Oh,
hilarious that we had
okay.
between this like ridiculous fight sequence to save the drunken squirrel and the beginning also, Pete, when Mando was trying to have Grogu rewire his ship. Like that's very bad parenting.
Like, you don't trust the guy to not eat someone's eggs, but yet you trust him to rewire a ship. Just feel like not the smartest idea
In
by
a way, it's a
someone who's
bit
supposed to
weird.
be very calculated.
Yeah, Phil.
It's a bit weird. That's what I'm just agreeing with Pete.
I mean, isn't I think the only qualification Mando saw was like, oh, he's tiny, could fit in the port and can fit and can I could talk him through it. You're basically asking your puppy to hardwire your engine.
It's ridiculous.
Okay. Uh,
And it's funny, Pete, because we have the same exact plot point, I think, in Obi-Wan Kenobi a few years later with Leia the Electrician in episode 5.
At least Leia can speak the language. At least that makes a little more sense. Let me try to guide you through it. I'm talking to Grogu, who doesn't know his up from his down right now.
At least Mando could see what Grogu is doing. Like, I don't believe anybody with Leia can actually see what she's doing.
Fair.
By the way, you should not be putting your children in charge of electrical repairs.
No.
No, I think that's going on here. And another, like, Phil, anything you want to add right now? Otherwise, I'll start going down some of my thoughts.
no, no, nothing to add.
All right, so couple of things I'll add here. We got our weekly Grogu eating bit here where Nick, would you just say that Grogu basically just bullies his child in class and steals his cookies?
Well, it looks like at the beginning he's asking her, and she says no, and then he bullies her.
Yeah, he asks for the cookies, he says no, and then he steals them. So
Yeah, at first he was trying to be nice, but then he ended up being a bully. Yeah.
yeah. Very underreported, man, like Pete, that Mando has not taught Grogu the art of manners.
I don't think that's his priority. I don't even think Mando has manners. I think he just controls the room wherever he is.
Yeah.
Willing to bet the next time we see them, which would be in the movie, I'm imagining there's some sort of time jump between where we saw them in the end of season 3 and the movie, that they've developed more of a actual father-son relationship, more so than like a client relationship.
Yeah. I think so. I think Phil, like I feel like this was peak like when they were writing this, like I think at this point the episode with the soup must have aired because I feel like at this point they were very quick keen on we need to find ways for Grogu to eat something in every episode.
Yes. This was this was kind of peak Grogu too. Grogu selling a ton of merchandise, Grogu being the thing that every kid had on his shirt. So they had to feed into the Grogu eating things.
Yeah, I know you're supposed to laugh at him. I just think it's hilarious that we're just rooting for Grogu to bully this kid because he won't share his Oreos.
Yeah, that's the way Grogu is.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to get into this base raid here? I feel like that's where the most of the action is in this episode.
Yeah, I think you already hit on everything else, so let's do it.
All right. So thoughts on like the action here? Because I feel like there's a lot of like Mando is Superman and the rest of the crew are his sidekicks.
Kind of,
So
right? I mean, that's
yeah,
that's
Uh,
that's, that's the show.
Pete, what do you think about the info dump we get when we storm the lab and we see the proto Snoke clones and we see the message from Dr. Pershing basically saying that like they exhaust their supply of Grogu's blood and need something about a high M count and we need to get another sample here. And this is where Mando also learns that Gideon is still alive because the message from 3 days ago. So big info dump here.
Let me say this. We are now, if we're watching this live, a month into season 2, and we're finally getting a shred of storyline that has to do with what the Mandalorian set up in season one.
Yeah.
I think I audibly was like, finally, like, right? Like, finally, we have something we can talk about and understand. And I think the writing was on the wall when it came to M count and why they were trying to get Grogu for like testing and stuff. And I don't think anyone was like super duper shocked that they wanted to, you know, research a force user or whatever they're calling them. But it was like, all right, we spent a month doing nothing and we finally get a little something that honestly we don't get much more of throughout the seasons, which is a bummer, but we'll talk about that at a different time.
Phil, when you watch it in the real time, did you catch what this was basically as that we theorized this is basically them beginning to try and fix the sequels?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They were, for lack of a better term, pot committed at this point to the whole Palpatine's clones and Snoke's a clone, and somehow he returned, blah blah blah. So uh, I think the somehow Palpatine returned is one of the most widely criticized lines in movie history. So I think they realized that and we're like, oh, maybe we could explain how that happened.
Now, Nick, also in season three, we learned a lot. Some of the clones are Gideon clones. Are these, you think, the first batch of the Gideon clones that didn't work?
Probably, yeah. Right? I think we're led to believe that.
Yeah, because I think like at first you think it's Snoke, like then in season three they changed. Oh, like there's 75 Gideons running around that have like force powers.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet we see more of them in the movie too.
You can't let go of Giancarlo Esposito if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I mean he's a great actor, so I don't really dislike it that much, but at some point you gotta let it go, right?
Yeah. So can we get to the getaway sequence there? And I and Pete, what I think is the single like worst like writing example in I think the entire show.
Please, let's get this over with.
Lay it
I'll
on.
see. I'll see if you caught this here. At the end, when they're trying to get away, and they have this mission where Grogu, they find out what he is, and Mando's like, "I gotta go find the kid." He says, "Oh," then they're like, "Okay, go get him. Use your jetpack to get back to me faster, and then come back and help. He'll come back for us." So, I timestamp this in the episode. By the time he leaves the base, it's 20. There's 22 minutes, about 55 seconds on the clock. 22:25, excuse me. It takes about 6 minutes later, he returns at 28:29. He has not only picked up Grogu, he has the ship back. He's fighting TIE fighters, all in the span of 6 minutes and 29 seconds. We'll say maybe it's 15 minutes total because okay, like they took some time to get to the exit door before they go steal the tank and try and get away. But this thing took a day in season one to walk across. But you're telling me in 15 minutes he got all the way back to town, got Grogu, got his ship, and came back?
Mike, I don't disagree with you. I think that's crazy. But I have to tell you, never watch Game of Thrones. I know you have not seen it. Never watch it because the entirety of this last two seasons is this. Things that would take an entire season to walk took them 8 minutes in Game of Thrones time.
Yeah, Pete, did you clock this in the real time? How it seemed too fast?
I gotta be honest with you, no. I mean, I just what I don't like about it is we've seen this so many times. There's a ship in the trench trying to get away from TIE fighters or a bad thing or whatever, and it's just and they're shooting and like, oh, we'll push them to the side and hit the rock. We'll push this one to the side, hit the rock. Oh, someone landed on us. They're gonna throw a grenade in us, but I'll shoot them off last minute. I understand there's not much you could do with it, but we've seen it so many times in Star Wars. That's the part that bothered me. It's like, okay, we get it. Another trench run, if you will, where you're kind of blocked in on both sides. There's only one way to go, and now you have to get out of the situation. I'm sorry, I don't think one transport thingy, whatever the class of transport it is going to beat five TIE fighters and some speeders. Now, granted, Mando comes and helps with the Razor Crest, but still, it's just like you're just that's the part that's just like, come on, guys, like we've done this before. Maybe let's do something else. Maybe just be speeder versus speeder instead, or something to give it a little bit more. We've only seen it once or twice versus every episode of Star Wars has, some sort of trench run fight scene.
Yeah, Phil. I think my issue is I clock is I remember in the real time complaining about this. I think on the Just on the Suffering recap of these episodes. I look back in the archives. I think Sam DeRosa was on that one with me. I said like this like is just absurd. Like how quickly he's able to do all these things and get back. It's not like he just went and picked the ship up. He went, got Grogu, got the ship, and now is all the way back here. Like that just like way too fast in the episode real time.
Yep, that's asking you to suspend reality.
Yeah. So I think like I know Pete's had a lot of writing complaints here. I think this might be the single worst writing in the entire show.
Don't watch Game of Thrones. Don't watch it.
Yeah, I don't watch Game of Thrones. I agree.
All right, so I think we should end here with the Gideon reveal at the end, where like we see that like this is also Nick the first time we see Elia Kane in the show because this is her first
Yeah, I
episode.
didn't know that. Like
I
watching
learned
it, I was like, "Is that her?" Oh yeah, that's the first time I've seen her. I didn't remember that.
I didn't either. That was new. That was new to me this time around.
Yeah.
She got such a big role in season three, but she learns that like their spy planted a tracker on the Razor Crest and that Grogu was at Mando and they're gonna find Mando and we see the tease for the Dark Troopers, so we're not gonna get again until I think episode 6 when they first show up to take Grogu. So Pete, like I think this was a good way to end the episode and set up the second half of the season.
I got to be honest with you. If they didn't do this, this would have been a failure of an episode again.
Yeah.
It would have been talking about this the fourth straight week about how nothing that's happening in this show is doing anything for the plot line. So kudos for them to be like, okay, we gave you 3.5 weeks of nothing. Let's give you a little something to look forward to. And then obviously the next episode is a pretty good one. So it's definitely a great way. It's a great mid-season finale, if you will.
Yeah,
This
Phil.
show has taught me, or should I say, rewatching this show has taught me that the weekly episode release model isn't always the best idea. And over the last couple of years, I've learned the model that I like the most is the Andor model, the Stranger Things model, the whatever you want to call it, the bunches that add up to the season. Releasing the whole thing at once, I don't think works. And releasing it individually like this, you get stuck in a 3 or 4 week gap where nothing happens, and it's like you go a month without anything advancing. But I think the way that just use Stranger Things as last season as an example, I think that's the perfect way to release something, where you drop a batch, let's say half the season, then you drop a little bit more. Actually, let's just say Andor is the perfect one. It's like it's an event every time it's on, and they're like basically a movie, and then it's over, and you wait again, and you get it again.
I
Maybe a week in between, like a 2 week. Every 2 weeks you drop that kind of movie, but I think that's what I like.
I think I will say on that, Nick, is I think it depends on the show. Whereas I feel like if you're a
This
better
show is what I'm talking about. I don't think
yeah,
it worked.
yeah. I think with Andor specifically, I think like season one, they basically did the one drop to start and then weekly, which I think
Mhm.
that worked fine. I think the better the written the show is, the longer you want it to last. Whereas like, if you drop like three Mandos at once, I think you notice less of like the flaws in the story design.
Yeah, I just imagine the Prison Break. We did the whole episode with Kyle Katarn
Yep.
about a year ago or whatever it was. But when you said we're doing that, I watched the whole arc because I thought that's what we were doing. And watching the arc was way better than watching one of the watching them individually.
Yeah.
So I really like that release model and wish that they did that more often.
All right. So P, any thoughts on that?
Um, I agree with the what Nick is saying. I think that because of what we're getting in this show, weekly is just a drag. I mean, we're watching this weekly, and I'm like, we've been here, rewatching weekly, and it's like we've been a month, and we finally got something that has to do with the actual story. I think that they have to cut these episodes. I mean, that's just like the real answer, in my opinion. But if they did the first episode and then released these next three in a bunch, I can see me enjoying it better because you could watch it one after another, and it doesn't seem like such a long time to get there. You could
And
watch it for an hour and a half and you got there, right? And you're like, okay, I'm good with that, right? Versus, hour and a half over the course of a week or whatever, or even a day if you have the time, versus waiting a month for that one little piece, I think is the difference.
And I think that the amount of episodes makes it more of a problem. When there's only seven, 8 episodes in a season, and two or three of them are filler episodes, it's much more noticeable than two filler episodes out of a 15 episode season, obviously. So they need to have. Well, it's too late now. Obviously, the show's already been 3 seasons, but they should have had more episodes per season. Even if that meant shorter episodes, I think that would have been better.
Yeah, Phil, I think it's interesting because I wonder if like the Maul thing has sort of will change this because this is Maul is episodes we're doing two at a time basically for 5 weeks, and we saw this a little bit with what they did with Andor here. Like, you wonder if this shows are sort of looking at these things like, okay, like you have to balance like what's the best way to get the story out when we have based on what we have compared to like how we keep the people subscribed to Disney Plus for longer. Because if you do like the Nick model, like they're out in a month basically, and then like you lose them for a little bit if they have nothing else on the platform they like.
Yeah, and that's why Netflix was doing the kind of staggered drops that they did with Squid Games and Stranger Things. They timed it up very well with quarters, with fiscal quarters, so that they can take the increased subscription for the fiscal quarter.
And
Um,
around the holidays. So
yeah, so you might get something like that, but I I I don't think Disney Plus is gonna. I just don't think Disney Plus has a whole lot of people who are only subscribing to watch the Darth Maul show. So I don't think they really have to worry about that.
No, I think like maybe now we're starting to combine like work on this combining this and the Hulu and the ESPN all into one thing. Like maybe they're like be more experimental with the release models on these things compared to like when it's like, okay, he will stay on Disney Plus for any like whatever new content we have.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty comfortable with in that they're always going to have they're always going to have the parents basically. Anybody who has a kid is going to be on the
Yeah.
on Disney Plus. So I guess it's how do I get the non-parents to subscribe?
Yeah. So it's like how I get like, like your average like 30, let's say like your average 18 to 49, like person who does not have like younger children, like who would be watching all the Disney movies like all the time. Like how you get them to stay on this.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to say before we start wrapping things up?
no,
All right. So we can go ahead and go to our MVP board for this show so far. So we're going to cover the first four that we've done for the first three episodes of the season. Just bear with me a second as I find the graphic here in terms of Mando chapter 12. This is our MVP board after episode 11. So over the course of 3 weeks of the season, we have four total MVPs, Phil. So we're going to put the board on the big screen for the Sky Guys YouTube viewers to watch. Mando is on the board at +3. Carson, Tava, and Bo Katan +2. Pelimano +1. Those are your MVPs. The LVPs, Pelimano's Dumb Droids from the Chapter 9. The Tusken Raiders and the Mining Collective all got -1s. Frog Lady is -1. Grogu's a -1. The deck officer from last week, who got himself blown off the ship, is -1. And John Favreau, 2 LVP points from Pete to bring up the rear on the board. So, we'll actually start with you here, Phil. Who is your MVP of the episode?
My MVP of the episode is Carl Weathers, also known as uh, Karga.
Yeah. Again, Greek Karga on the
Yes,
board.
Grief Karga. Yes, he is my MVP. I thought that I like his character. You know, it's sad that he's no longer with us, but I thought this was really one of the better episodes for Grief Karga.
Yeah, and Greek Karga doing hard work to rebuild the town and rebuild the planet and make it a more respectable place to live.
Yeah, uh, he did a lot, and you know, he's involved in the action as well.
Yes, he is, and he's basically bitching the Mythol around the whole episode.
Right.
I'm gonna give my MVP point to Mando, just because like the three of them getting away were cooked if Mando does not pull off the most improbable define the laws of physics pickup ever of his ship. So I'm gonna give him the MVP here, Pete.
Hmm. I'll give it to Grief Karga as well. I think he did good in this episode. Really no complaints.
Okay, Nick.
give it to Mando. He He did the impossible things to save it, right?
Yes, he did. All right. Now go to the LVP section here. So it's going to be the worst character episode. I'm giving it to the Imperial faction on the base. I'm giving it to Nevarro Empire base because like this is a facility filled with stormtroopers and officers, and they let one Mandalorian, one marshal, an old man who's running, basically a past his prime bounty hunter, and a code breaker take down their entire operation. They get the LVP collectively from me. Pete.
I think I'm going to do the same as you, but I think an honorable mention is Mando, only for the fact that he shows up to Navarro and just leaves Grogu in a random classroom after all they've been through and how he doesn't trust anyone. But yeah, I'll go with the Imperial faction that's running that base.
Nick.
Um, I guess I'll agree. I don't really see anyone else that I can give it to, so I'm gonna agree.
While you were stepped away for a second, Phil did tip his hand. He's not on board with us. He's giving it to somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, I already spoiled this, but the Mithril from is my LVP for the simple reason that I don't understand him. He got captured. Now he's kind of like an indentured servant, and he never comes back. So he's my LVP for those reasons.
I mean, sure, he's off screen somewhere, but that's fine. That's fine. He can be your LVP. All right.
He doesn't do anything particularly egregious in the episode. I don't get him.
Yeah. All right. So now we'll go to the grades on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is worst 1978 holiday special. 10 is actually with the Gorman arc of Andor as the pinnacle of live action Star Wars content. So, Pete, you're up first with the grade this week.
Giving it a 7.
Okay.
I think that this is still a filler. I still think it's ridiculous that 4 episodes in we get 4 minutes of content that has to do with the actual storyline. The reason why it gets 7 is because the action is good and there's actually a little bit of storyline that makes you go, "Oh, this second half should be good." So, 7 for me.
Nick.
7.5.
Okay.
Everything Pete said, I liked it a little bit more than he did.
Phil.
I agree. 7.5. That's a good number for it. Pete's right. It's a filler. A little ridiculous that you're this many episodes in and you're still doing fillers, but it's a filler that advances the plot and has some good action. And I like going back to Navarro. So let me give it a 7.5.
I'm going with Pete 7 here just because they lost the half point for the absurdity of Mando traversing the entire planet in the span of 10 minutes. But I will say here, I think like it's a filler episode, but it's a fun filler episode. And we do get plot advancement, which is better than we got in episode 2 of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, these grades, I think you're trying to view every episode in isolation, but it's hard to do that, right? So, I mean, you guys know what's coming with season 3. You have like the lettuce or spinach monster or whatever that guy is. Like the season 3 has some bad ones.
Oh, good old Captain Seaweed.
Yeah, season 3's got some bad ones. So
yeah, we did season 3 the real time. So like, thanks to the Maul drop here, we are not going to go back to episode 3, like on a prior to the movie. So like, audience is aware. We will give you the season 3 feedback episode, like series review episode to reset everything there. But like the Maul like episodes kind of took over that slot, Nick.
Yeah, we have those episodes. We'll put something out, but it's not going to be the same as
Yeah. We're not gonna rewatch every one of season 3 because they're just gonna run out of time when this movie comes out.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, and that's it for this week. Next week, chapter 13, The Jedi, which is the live action debut of one Ahsoka Tano, Nick.
Yeah, I remember it being good, but let's go back and see.
Yeah, this inspired an entire spin-off series, Pete.
Yes, it did. One of my favorites. Better than Mando, I would say.
Yeah,
And
so
is Ahsoka confirmed? She's not going to be in the Mando movie?
that we know of.
They haven't said it.
But considering where she ends season 1 of Ahsoka of her own show, it's very unlikely she's in this movie.
Fair, but I guess that's a good way to get rid of her. All right.
Yeah, so it's a good place to, I think, leave off here next week. We'll back next week for chapter 13, which is also going to be our Star Wars Podcast Day episode. Nick, excited to be part of Star Wars Podcast Day again.
Yes, thank you to Daniel who runs it, who's done it for I don't know how many years now. I want to say 7, but
Yeah,
we've been doing it I think 3 or 4. But a lot of fun and excited to be a part of it again.
Pete, aren't you glad that we didn't end up with Frog Lady being the Star Wars Podcast Day episode?
I would have boycotted. I wouldn't have shown. I would have said politely declined. No, but like Nick said, it's super awesome that we're involved. I'm glad that we don't have to talk about Frog Lady, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, super excited for it.
Absolutely. And Phil, thanks for stopping by and checking out this episode with us. Always a lot of fun hearing your perspective.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Here, Pete, people want to follow you on social media. How can I do that?
At Consy29 on Twitter, CONSY29, AP Tower 308. Posted this background on Reddit. Make sure you check them out.
Nick, one more time. People want to follow on social media. How can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast all over social media. You can email the pod at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
Yep, you can also follow me on social media at mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week over on the Justin and Suffering podcast, we are getting you ready for the Super Bowl, our Super Bowl betting special here. And Pete, just for you, we have an Olympic hockey preview in that episode.
If it's even happening.
It's gonna happen.
I don't know. The arena looks pretty bad.
Yeah, they're still playing it.
Pretty bad. No, I'm sure. But yeah, no, interesting. I definitely have to give it a listen.
Yeah, first time we're getting pro NHL players in the Olympics since 2014.
That is right. They're letting them go. They're letting them skate. So that'll be a good time. And good for them. They're able to, represent their countries, and I think that's super cool.
I'll put you on the spot here. Does the USA medal this time around?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
There's some choices about the American roster that there's some players that I feel like should be on that roster that kind of got snubbed, but I mean, there's a reason why you construct a roster with different players and not just an all-star team. So, maybe they're trying to rerun a 1980 Olympic run and not have the team that everyone thought they should have, kind of a situation. But yeah, it's exciting and hopefully they medal.
Yeah, there's also a documentary coming out on Netflix, I think, on the week of recording on Friday about the 1980 Olympic team again. So that'll be fun.
That's always a good topic of discussion.
Yep. So we'll be back next week to cover Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian. Until then, may the Force be with you.